After 2 trailer reviews, did this movie hold the hype? Let's see. All right, welcome to the HolmFront. I am Tyler, your host, and to my right, as always, is my overly artistic friend Mitch.
Yep, thanks for having me. I'm rolling up the sleeves for this one.
Oh boy!
All right,
So
ready to talk.
this was one of the very first mini episodes we did on Saturday.
Oh, really? Was it one of our first ones?
I think it was the second one, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, wow.
And it got a lot of attention, and it was very divisive. We had almost an equal number of likes and dislikes. So we're like, let's try and replicate this. So we
Yeah.
did the second trailer. Same thing happened.
Right.
Quite a few views, same amount of likes and dislikes. It was right down the middle. So I was like, all right, we got to go see the movie. We got to see how we
gotta
do on
deliver.
this.
Because we don't always see the movie after we critique the trailer. So this time we did. We both saw it in different contexts. We've shared a little bit, just enough to craft a script, but we haven't gone into the depths of how we feel about this movie.
Yeah, because we were originally going to see it together. Didn't happen that way. So we were like, maybe this is better this way. We both develop our own opinions, unbiased. Let's see what we can make out of this. So we're coming to this with barely any conversation. We both know general sentiments. I'm pretty sure you got what I thought about it while you were watching it. Same thing here.
Yeah.
So let's do this. So the movie kind of starts with a conversation between Superman
Well,
and
actually,
Lois.
before you get into that, I do want to say one thing
Go ahead.
because here's the thing: we both didn't like this movie. I guarantee it. So that tends to really annoy people. So I'll just say this: a big question is whether or not the movie lives up to what the trailer promises, and I feel like it does. So if you saw the trailers and you were like, "That looks like fun. That looks cool," then I think you should go see it and just ignore our opinions because you'll probably have a great time. I think if you like James Gunn movies, you'll like it. I think if you're okay with the kind of like Marvel kind of relatively simplistic, relatively shallow messaging and just kind of like straightforward movie, you're going to have fun. Oh, also, one other thing I wanted to say too is that so I looked up afterwards because when the movie ended, I was like, was this PG? That's what I kept thinking the whole movie.
Okay.
And then I looked it up. Apparently it's PG-13, but I don't know what
For what?
for.
Because
Yeah,
a little bit of blood in the beginning.
I guess it was the most PG of
Yeah.
superhero movies ever. And I mean
If
that like in
if you
every
could use
way.
the word sterile, this movie fits it.
I meant for like kids. Because I could see like my nephew having a blast with this movie because
Sure.
it's just bright colors. It's an endearing character who's really likable and like good spirited and like, saves the day in the end. That kind of stuff is still there. And I kind of feel like if I could say one good thing about this movie, I would say that the casting's pretty good.
Yeah.
And that the overall intention behind the movie, I think, is well meaning.
Sure. Yeah, okay. All right. Sure.
Do you disagree with any of that or?
I was so apathetic about the whole thing that I don't care. So
Okay, that's a place to be.
I know you're trying to be generous here, but I'm just like, I was just like, am I supposed to care at some point here about anything at all?
Well, I felt that too. I just wanted to lay it out so that way it doesn't come across for the viewers that
Sure.
we just hate this movie and we just want to spend an hour and a half.
I
just
don't
beating
hate
it to the
because
ground.
it's not. That's the thing. I didn't
Yeah.
like it. I didn't hate it. I was just like, is this gonna be over soon? That's about it.
Right.
I was like, this just seems kind of overlong, overly colorful, and yeah, I mean, it did feel like it felt like a Spy Kids kind of a movie.
Oh, that's a great analogy. Yeah,
That's-
it feels like a Spy Kids movie. If you like Spy Kids, this is
I like
right
Spy
up.
Kids though, so I mean, this one didn't meet that standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just one of those. It was just like Spy Kids. I probably only like because I saw it as a kid. So if I saw this as a kid and came back to it, then I probably would have the same sentiment.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly. Yeah.
So-
Because as a kid, you're not going to think too hard about a lot of it.
Right.
And for what it's worth, there's like some elements that do work. I just feel like those elements get so overshadowed by all the things that don't work.
Well,
so,
the main thing about this movie is that I think it's just trying to do too much with too little. It just has so much going on all the time, but then it's not doing a lot with any of it. Like it
Yeah,
has
there's
a
not a lot of substance to any of the individual
right.
parts. That's a very good point. A lot of people actually have been saying that this movie feels like the second entry in a trilogy, and I absolutely
It
resonate with
does.
that. It feels like
Yep.
entry 2, except there is no entry 1. So you just have to like roll with it. There's all this stuff that I would have liked to have seen, and it's just like, oh, well, that stuff's not interesting. I'm like, well, that was like the core of the cartoon or whatever. And we've gutted that. It's like,
And to
okay.
some extent, I like some stories like that that just kind of throw you in. You know, I'm a Game of Thrones fan, and they do that.
Hmm.
They just like expect you to just go with it until you figure it out.
Sure.
And I can deal with that if there's enough there to figure out. This one was just kind of like, well, you either like what you find out or you won't find anything out, and it's just gonna like they this thing with Lex. They have this presupposition that you just understand why he hates Superman the whole time, and you're like, well, I don't. Why does he? Why is he? He kind of gives a little bit of a speech at the end, but it just comes across as, oh, I'll get into that. So,
Okay.
the movie's there's a couple things that happen in the beginning, but then they get to this conversation. I figure it was better to start there than the stuff up front.
Yeah, probably because I feel like this will outline a lot of like my core issues with it at least, and it's an early scene, so we can kind of spoil this relatively safely, and then that way, if you're still on the fence, you can kind of decide then before we just rip into the movie with all the spoilers. So early on in the movie, you see Clark Kent go into the Daily Planet, and he has an exchange with Lois Lane, and she's like, kind of rails on him a little bit, and
Well, he
they
mentions that he had an interview with Superman,
and she's
and
like, "Oh,
she's
that's
like,
convenient."
"Yeah, how'd that happen again?" And so she's like nabbing at him,
Hmm.
and then yeah,
And she kind of critiques his writing ability,
right,
which is funny. It's all the things Lois Lane should be doing.
yep.
But then she goes home, and what happens is she enters her apartment, and then she hears a sound from the kitchen inside, and she's like, "Oh, what is that?" And so then she grabs a baseball bat, and then you have like this horror music creeping in, and then who does she find? But Clark Kent is in her apartment, and they're dating, and she already knows that he's Superman, and so on and so forth. So this was like a huge tonal shift, and I just kept thinking, like, when that happened, I was like, this feels like such an immature way to handle this. Like, not only did you completely remove all the hilarious intrigue between these two characters, because she's supposed to, for the record, she is supposed to be like, oh, Clark Kent, he's just that, idiot
Yeah.
writer.
He's
He's the
like the
newbie.
dorky, nerdy, weak dude,
Right,
clumsy as all hell.
right,
He can't do anything right,
right.
and
But
then
then when
finds
she
out.
sees Superman, well,
Mhm,
Superman's hot stuff.
right.
So it's hilarious to see how she goes back and forth and legitimately believing they're two people.
Yeah.
And, I get that in the mind of the movie or the filmmakers, they were thinking, well, he's just wearing glasses. It should be obvious to her that it's the same person. Absolutely. But the thing is no one else knows that.
Right. Why she's special.
So she's the only one
The
to
other
know.
the other thing that that part I dislike so much is like, why are you making me think that she's worried about someone in her apartment when it's clear that they already have this established relationship? Like, why isn't she just assume that Clark Kent's in there and that
Exactly.
it's not Clark Kent? I
That's
didn't.
just for the audience.
Yeah, which I found was so cheap, and I was just like, man, you treating me like an idiot already? Like you,
Hmm.
because then she's like, oh, it's just you, and then they start making out, and I was like, is this an established relationship? Like, well, why didn't you just assume that that was him in the first place?
Right.
What is this?
Like any normal person in a relationship
Right.
would assume.
So it was so cheap. It was just one of those things where it's like, haha, we got you, audience. It was like, not really. It just made me want to leave the movie. But okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it was just kind of this, and I mean, you might be thinking, all right, we'll go easy on it. It's just one scene, but the tonal whiplash is throughout the whole movie. Like, there's this scene where they fight this monster in the center of Metropolis, and it's like something out of Lilo and Stitch. I mean, it just looks,
It
or
looks
Monsters
really
Inc.
goofy.
Super
It's like a
ridiculously looking.
floppy ear type things, and it's got big old like it looks like a giant anime monster, and I'm like, what is this? Because
Yeah.
it looks like a Hellboy thing. So there's a scene in Hellboy 2 where the Elf King or whatever he is, the fairy lord, he drops this plant into the water and it grows and it starts
Oh yeah.
destroying things, and so Hellboy has to jump in and save him, save the city essentially. But he brings up a moral question with it. He's like, this is the last of its kind. Would you really want to shoot it, or would you really want to kill it?
Mm-hmm.
This one, they have a similar thing where Lex just randomly has this baby monster, it's like gremlin. He's like, yeah, release it. Once it gets wet, it's gonna grow. And I'm like, well, why does this exist? Why do you have this random monster just chilling, ready to go? It was so odd. It would like the tonal shift, like you were saying. It didn't feel like it fit in the movie. It felt like
Mm-hmm.
this would be part of the Hellboy universe
Yeah.
or some fantastic type movie. This didn't fit in the Superman because again, like he has all these different tools of fighting Superman. This was supposed to be like a distraction type thing. But I was like, am I just supposed to accept that he has an alien in the wings? They go on to explain a little bit more, I suppose, but
A
it was
bit.
so bizarre.
Well, yeah, because you don't understand what Lex's limits are. Then you're just like, oh, so if you have that alien, I mean, you could have all kinds of weird
Yeah,
stuff.
what else do
Then,
you got just sitting in the back burners? Like it was
yeah,
just weird.
yeah, and I mean, like, just stylistically, it was not even in the same tone as like how it happens like later in the movie, like
Yeah.
when he's fighting like this engineer lady who's like made out of nanites, and she like. This is gonna sound weird, but she like turns her body into nanites and just goes into
His
Superman's
lungs.
mouth, and it tries to like yeah, goes into his lungs so he can't breathe. Like this is something that happens in the movie for a really long sequence, and you're just like watching him like trying to breathe and stuff. So that got very dramatic, and then it's like you put that next to the
Yeah.
goofy monster thing, and it's like, wait a minute, am I? It's the same
Is
movie.
this what happened here?
Kind of a maybe smooth that out a little bit. Might be a good idea. So that's why I think that part kind of didn't work for me. But going back to that original scene before we rail on the tone some more, because I feel like there is more to say there. But in that original scene, after they have the interaction, the audience figures out, okay, they're in a relationship, so we've lost the humor that we could have gotten from the
Yeah.
dynamic. But whatever, I'll let
There's
that ship
supposed to be like a
sail.
really charming back and forth, and Lois is so plucky and aggressive. That's how she finds out who Superman is, because she keeps poking and asking questions and bothering him, and he can't get away from it until finally she's like, fine, all right, I'm Superman, okay,
That would have been a great way to end the
right.
movie, where she finds out at the end after just like, you are Superman, aren't you? And he's like, no. And and he has this kind of because he's so. I mean, that's the thing about it is I forget his name, but the actor who plays Superman, he does come across as very genuine and very
Yeah,
sincere. And I feel like he put the movie on his shoulders and was like, I'm just gonna.
he's trying.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go with this one. The unfortunate thing that happens with Lois Lane is in this interaction, they decide to do an interview. He's like, "Well, I'll give you an interview." Like, what the hey? And
Yeah,
he,
she brings up like, yeah, you've had too many interviews. It's gonna get suspicious. People are gonna start asking questions. He's
hmm
like, okay, well, I'll give you one then,
hmm
because you'll let me interview you right here, right now. And he goes, sure. And so they sit down and have an interview, and she starts to go hardball on him.
right, which is kind of this. Well, did you like that scene? Did that work for you?
No,
Okay. Well, I want to hear what you think because I've been going over what I think for like a week.
so you need some fresh blood. Um, I liked that she asked hard questions.
Yeah.
And she was kind of pushing the conversation around to make him actually consider what some of these ramifications were.
hmm
So like that dynamic was good. But like you said, they'd already kind of crushed that dynamic that we're supposed to have with between Lois Lane and Clark Kent. So it was like, oh, they have an established relationship. So why is this a conversation that hasn't happened before? Like, does it have to be in this professional setting? It was weird that it was now that she was going to start pushing back on him when it's like, well, the ramifications of you not asking these questions, wouldn't they
hmm
be weighing on your conscience? Like, why wouldn't you be thinking about all this stuff?
Oh, that's a very good
Because he's
point.
messing
Yeah.
with all these political aspects. I mean, he's this ultimately powerful being that's just going out and doing things that he thinks are right.
Right.
And if she thinks that, like, hey, maybe you should be questioning this or be running it through people in order to have some kind of accountability, why wouldn't you bring that up initially? Like, why are you just shoving that off to the side? And, like, they give some reasons as to what her relationship status is and how she deals with that type of thing that help you contextualize it a little
Mm.
bit. But even so, it's like, as a reporter that claims to have all these moral leanings in this compass, it's an odd thing that you wouldn't have allowed this to be a conversation before, especially if
Yeah.
you understand his secret identity. So it didn't square properly for me, but
Yeah. It's like she needs to have a scene from the first movie that we didn't see where she's investigating and she's actually very critical of Superman,
Yeah.
but then Superman saves her life in a scenario.
Well, that's what
And
happens
then
in the very first movie. She's like trying to goad him into.
I love how we're
Re-
talking about this first movie that doesn't exist.
Well, I mean, like the Christopher Reeves film in the 70s.
Okay.
She's
Oh.
trying to make him do something to reveal his identity because she latched on, and he's like, I'm not, I promise. And she jumps off a bridge to
Oh.
like get him to
Okay.
reveal it. So like that is what you're
That's
wishing is
something
the
she
first
would do.
Exactly. Anyway,
Because she knows he wouldn't let her die.
exactly.
I gotta see that one. That sounds like a pretty good movie.
Just contrast it. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, well, so yeah, so my big issue with this scene though was like, okay, so I felt like, to its credit, I felt like the scene was handled more or less well because I do like that she brings in the more grounded, realistic perspective, and pretty much when she starts talking, I'm like, kind of side with her. She's making a lot of sense. Like I get what he's coming from. He sees it very simply. It's very black and white, but she's looking at the nuance and the long-term ramifications of his actions in the real world. And he kind of can't see that as well because he knows he can just step in and smash a tank and problem solved, right? But he's relying on the fact that he can just always be there to do that, and maybe that's not the way it should be conducted. And you know, there's like so many other arguments that she throws out as well, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. That's good. The problem with it is that we barely had a chance to connect with Superman. So the first scene we have, the first real chance to connect with Lois Lane is her berating the character that we like. And so I was like, this isn't really a great way to have us won over by Lois Lane. I felt like the actress did a phenomenal job of trying to like navigate that very carefully because that's a super difficult position to be in. And I don't know if she was aware of like, oh crap, the audience has like no context for me until this moment, really. I got to be careful with this. But yeah, like she balances it okay, but then it's still like this kind of lingering effect throughout the movie where you go, okay, but like how does the context of their relationship work? Because there's clearly a dividing line between the way they see the world is so different. And they do bring that up where she gets like, like, you know, this is never gonna work or whatever. And he's like all confused at that. But like
Well,
again,
the
you're
line
just
is that she never trusts anyone and he trusts everybody. But they're also
Mhm.
talking about something you didn't get to see. They show an entirely
Right.
different thing to start with, and then they talk about a situation that you didn't get to be a part of.
Yeah, so
And
you're
so
like,
has all these political ramifications and things that you don't understand. And so you kind of just are forced to side with someone who seems to be actually critically thinking about it. And it kind of makes him look like an
that's a good
idiot
point.
because he's like, well, people were going to die, so I just jumped in and did something. And it's like, yeah, but you understand what else could come from that, right? Like
Right.
you might set a nation at war by doing this and more lives will be lost. I'm not saying you shouldn't save lives, but like
Right.
you're not
You could have
this
just been
dumb.
kicking the hornet's nest.
Right.
Like, yeah.
And he's just like, well, they were going to die, so I just stepped in. It's like, well, okay, that's all the thought you gave it? Seriously?
And
Like,
she's like, well, you're in America. Did you talk with the president about this? And he's like, well, no. Like,
yeah,
she's like, oh, so now it's an American act.
right.
That's how you're doing this? Like, that doesn't work.
Yeah, this American superpower out there representing America, doing things
Right.
outside of our purview. So, yeah, I mean, because they had some of this in Man of Steel. But
Hmm.
you know, he was of the mind of like when his world started to come in and encroach, then he had to do something. And he's like, "This is beyond." It was the Gandalf thing. He's like, "This beast is beyond any of you. Run!" Like that's kind of like he's like, "Well, it's Zod. I could give myself up." So he took the surrender first. So he took the humility, the humble approach.
Yeah.
But then when violence escalated, he just responded to it rather than instigating it himself.
Mm.
And it was just trying to prevent things from happening. So then they have a scene at the end where the guy tries to follow him around with a drone and he brings it down. He's like, look, you figuring out who I am and chasing me around is going to put other people in danger that I care about.
Right.
So you need to cut this out. He's like,
Mhm.
I grew up in Kansas. Like, I'm an American. I care about this country. But, like, there's a line here.
Right.
Like, I understand
Right.
what I am, but, like, we got to keep our distance from each other here personally because of
Mhm.
what that might mean. This one, it just seems to completely disregard all of that, but then it muddles it all together. And it's like, I don't know which one I'm supposed to follow where the actual stakes are. Like, a Man of Steel made it very clear what the stakes were and where they
Mm.
belong. This one just kind of was like, well, this might be a thing, and they just kind of threw it in the script, and you're like, well,
Hmm.
which one am I supposed to care about? Because right now, obviously, I'm siding with Lois because Superman just seems to be like, oh, well, I'm just gonna follow around my impulses,
Yeah.
what I think is right in the moment.
Yeah, I think he intended that too to be Superman's character arc. This is like a more like a younger, immature, slightly more immature Superman. Not that he's immature throughout the movie, like he doesn't do like obnoxious jokes really that much. But I just mean like it's not that he doesn't take the situation seriously, but he doesn't have like a nuanced perspective yet. And that part's fine, but there is a kind of a prevailing feeling throughout the whole movie that there's very little Superman in it. It spends a lot of time having Superman get beat up, locked up, criticized, ridiculed, and then it will pivot and be like, look at these other extraordinarily B characters that nobody's ever heard of and nobody cares about, and let's spend an hour and a half with them
Hmm.
while Superman rots away in a prison with some a-hole who's just generating kryptonite and holding it in his face, even though he could just stop that and be freed instantly. Not to get lost in the weeds with that scene, but I'm just saying, like, there was, if part of, like, I went into this movie being like, I want Superman, I want Lois Lane, I want, like, Lex Luthor, like, these are the things I want. And when I came away with it, I was like, there was basically no Superman apart from, like, one scene where he just lays waste to everybody, which was a good moment. And then there was, like, zero Lois Lane. Like, Jimmy, or whatever his name was, he did way more of the investigative reporter stuff. And not even him. It was his ex-girlfriend who was just an idiot. And so it was like, we're going into a movie being like, I'm going to get my Lois Lane, I'm going to get my Superman, and then not getting that and being like, here's Mr. Terrific, and here's an a-hole Green Lantern, and here's Hawk Girl. Why? Why are we doing this?
Because they belong, kinda. I've seen a
Like,
lot
it's
of.
not a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. It's a Superman movie. So
Yeah,
it's
but
got to be about Superman.
It's James Gunn, so he had to.
Feels that way.
People have been comparing this film to Matt Reeves' Batman, and they're like, looks like they might be gearing up for like a Justice League kind of thing with these two characters. And
How?
Please no.
There's no tonal consistency between
None.
these two at all.
There's no way that these movies belong in the same universe. Like, there's just none. They do not belong together. Yeah. Okay. So do you have any more to say on the
No,
interview
sorry.
scene?
I kind of was throwing out some bait. So whatever you want to pluck at, go for it.
I don't have much to say about that scene.
I meant the other things I brought up. Those were kind of
okay.
your avenues. So take it away, my friend.
Well, okay. Well, let's just jump on the character of Lex then for now. Did you like his portrayal? Did you like, what's the guy's name? I always forget it.
Nicholas Hoult.
Nicholas Hoult. Did you like that portrayal of Lex? I know you've been sitting with your own thoughts, but I'm going to try and like it. This is
Okay,
like a
yeah,
bouncing
yeah.
back and
No,
forth
it's
type
fine.
thing.
I hate to say it, but no. This is not Lex Luthor as I understand the character. I mean, he's a lot better than the Jesse Eisenberg or whatever, but that's not really saying anything.
That's not saying anything at all.
Because Jesse was a horrible pick for Lex, just awful. And Holt was
He is
better.
all-powerful, cannot be all good. Uh-huh.
Holt was like, he himself, I think, did his best with what he was given.
Yeah.
But I just don't like crybaby villains, and I especially don't think that fits Lex Luthor at all. Lex Luthor should be the kind of man.
He's poised.
Yes.
He's prepared.
Mm-hmm.
He always has, like, he's so intimidating because you don't know what his next move is.
Right.
He's always got, he got a plan B. He's got a backup. This movie tried to make him look like he did, but he was so emotionally unstable that it was just constantly bleeding through. And it's like, this isn't what this character is.
Yeah.
He's like the peak of humanity. He's in shape. He's rich. He's successful.
Right.
He's got the city under his thumb. He even becomes president after showing his true colors. Like, everyone knows that he's got this past of trying to kill Superman, but then he claims to have this redemption arc, and people believe him because of his charm, because of the way that he can manipulate them.
Yeah.
Like, and this is all cartoon stuff, but like this is the villain that they're trying to portray, and the fact that they had him like kind of a bubbling mess at the end was like, this isn't how he would react.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, like how I thought the movie would go was that they would get to this point and that he would still be in control. Like, they'd ship him off to jail and he wanted to be there.
Yeah.
That's what I thought was going to happen, because I was like, there's no way he wouldn't foresee this.
Right.
There just isn't any way.
Mm-hmm.
He's not this stupid. And so it was, Yeah, that's how I thought it would go, was that he would, like it would almost be like a pan shot of him in his cell, and he looks up and smiles or something. Like it's on
Yeah,
the
you
nose for sure, but I was
and then
like,
he gets like a call or something, and then
sure,
it's like, wait a minute. Yeah, there's always these
release
moving
the
parts.
Doomsday Project or some whatever.
Yeah, he should have been like what's his name? Like Philip Seymour Hoffman in MI3, where he's just like, actually, I feel like that portrayal, that Philip Seymour Hoffman, I mean, that's a little too bloodthirsty for
Sure.
Lex, but that's a little bit more of what I think would make a good Lex performance, of just this like cold stare down.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, because it's not an emotional thing.
No.
He's like, no, it's just like, you cannot be here because,
Yeah, you cannot exist. You shouldn't exist.
right. Yeah, and so instead he has him do this old breakdown scene at the end where he's just like, "Oh, like I'm so jealous of you, blah blah blah. That's my
It's my
feelings."
insecurity that makes me
Yeah.
strong. It's like,
Oh my
what?
gosh. Yeah, it was ridiculous. But like, even throughout the movie, there's these little moments that just don't, they're just so petty. They're such a petty way to depict a villain. It's just like, he's evil. He just wanted to write evil all over the character.
Kind of.
And like
Yeah,
like
this
he
isn't the
knocks this.
Joker. This is
Yeah, I mean, even the Joker isn't even that simplistic.
true.
But like Lex, like he has a scene where he knocks over this mug with pencils in it or whatever,
Oh yeah.
and then
Pick
he's,
it up.
pick it up. Yeah, and he's like, oh,
And they're like scurrying around to like
Yeah,
clean
these
it, and then he
little
knocks another
plebeians.
one over. Clean that one. Like, what is this? Who is that?
It's too petty. He
Yeah,
would just,
he's not a man child.
yeah, he would just like eliminate those people. He would do something like, he would destroy their lives, is what he would do.
Sure.
He would be like, you're fired, and also you're defamed, and there's nothing you can do about it. He would do something like that, and then just like dismiss them. That would be the end of it.
Yeah. Well, but that was he wasn't like trying. He was just doing it because he's throwing a tantrum. It wasn't towards anybody, so
Right.
it diminished his character even further. Anyway, okay.
Well, one other thing actually too is that he's not actually. So you said he wasn't that smart, but I got to tell you, early on, like right when the movie starts, he's got this like, I guess, hot blonde in his like his whatever, like his hub where he's doing evil stuff.
Yeah.
And she's like snapping a photo, like a selfie, and she's like, "Oh, look how hot I am!" And in the background is like Superman fighting this thing that Lex has constructed. And the moment I saw that, like it's like a half a second clip, I was like, Lex is gonna allow that? What? I was like, what if she snapshots something important in the background?
I love
Like
how you
his
picked
plans
up on
for
that.
something. I never pick up on stuff like that. I'm just like, I'm so naive in movies. I really am. It's terrible.
Cracks me up.
But when that happened, I was like, gosh, that just seems, and I was like, I guess it's just like a James Gunn goofiness thing. And then as the movie went on, that came back to haunt him, and I was like, it's like, so you guessed that too, right?
No.
You didn't guess that?
I legitimately thought this is James Gunn going, well, the kids have like social media influence these days, right? Like, so this is what we need to have in the movie, is a social media influencer. It's like, did you watch The Boys? Just go watch The Boys, figure out how to actually do this, and then come back and do this movie, man. Like, here, okay, on that point,
Okay.
I have to bring this up. It's such an aside, and I know how it's going to make me sound. I don't care. I'm going to bring it up because
Okay.
this is the one thing that I was actually passionate about in this film.
Okay.
And they brought up the question, and they never answered it. Jimmy Olsen is shown to have a connection with this blonde.
Right.
Do you remember how they did that?
Not really.
Okay. I do. For whatever reason, I do. So
Okay.
it was the one thing that was like interesting. I was like, oh, hey, there's something in here. So Lois Lane goes up to Jimmy Olsen and was like, do you have a lead on how I can get through to Lex? How can we bring him down?
Right.
And he goes, I might. And he looks at his phone. There's a name in his phone. Do you remember the name?
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh, I can't
Missed
believe
it.
It says Mutant Toes. He texts Mutant Toes, and then he has an answer. And I was like, what? Who are we texting that just like gave him all this information? He's like, yeah, he's got a secret dimension. I was like, who knows that Lex has a secret like, what?
Whoa.
So he gives all this to Lois. Lois just accepts it, even though she, like, would she know what a secret dimension is? So like, I'm going through all these leaps, and I kept coming back to who's Mutant Toes. So they finally show you who Mutant Toes is. It's the blonde that's taking the pictures, and she shows that she's been taking them in front of all these documents. And I was
Right.
like, okay, so she's intelligent on some level. but he calls her mutant toes. I was like, why? Why is she called mutant toes? Do we get to see these mutant toes and why he's so apprehensive to date this girl? Because, like, she's throwing herself at Jimmy. Like,
Oh, yeah.
can we be together as soon as Lex is put away?
She's like Janice in Friends.
And he's like, oh, sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, totally blowing her off. I was like, are her toes that weird? I just was, like, so fixated on this point. I was like, I want to see now. I want to know why she got this name and if she deserves it. I need to know why this is so weird. But they never give you.
Well, is she a character in the comics, this Eve person?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Maybe she is, and that's what it is. I'm sure now we're getting someone in the comments like, she is, you morons.
Yeah, you should know this already.
You shouldn't be allowed to watch Superman movies without knowing all the lore. Sorry.
James Gunn shouldn't be allowed to make a Superman movie, but
that's a good
leave
argument.
that alone. Anyway, total aside, but I was like, that was the one question I cared about in this movie, and I never got it answered. Because I was like, well, maybe she is some kind of mutant or something.
Yeah.
Because she's around Lex, and Lex seems to have only these, like, super beings around him that matter.
Yeah, I didn't get why he was interested in her, Lex.
Well, I think they were playing in the stereotype of, like, rich billionaires that just kind of have these, like, hot young girlfriends because they can.
Mm-hmm.
So they're both getting something out of the deal. Is that the girl's going to be with the rich guy, and the rich guy's got the hot young girl. So it's like...
But I feel like Lex would just be... He would just have, like, multiples if he was going to do that. You know what I mean? Because
he's more of, like, a Bruce Wayne kind of a guy.
Well, yeah, he's more of, like, a show-off.
Sure.
Like, he just needs to, like, flaunt his power and success to everybody around him.
But they made him a crybaby. That was what... Because he had all of his exes locked up in that cage in the dimension. And I was like...
Oh, that's right.
This made it even worse.
Yeah, he has this alternate dimension where he just locks up exes in there.
If they can't be with him, they can be with no one. Okay,
Oof,
let's jump... let's jump
I
into...
actually do want to say one thing. Hold that thought.
Uh-huh.
What is with these movies these days by making nerdy guys seem like they're just like these sought-after people? Like, Jimmy has all the girls flaunting over him. I was like, why?
Yeah,
They're supposed to flaunt over Superman because Superman's hot and Jimmy's not. Like, this isn't complicated. He's like a nerdy reporter person who goes home and plays video games on his Nintendo Switch. That's what he does. Like, Superman over there can level a building. And he can fly.
He can carry a building,
and he's got this endearingly cute curl. Like,
we know Mitch's type.
Buff.
I was
Seriously.
actually surprised. I was seeing it with somebody, and there was the scene where he goes home, and she leaned over and she's like, "This is the scene where they take his shirt off, according to you." I was like, I guess it would be. Because he's wounded and he's going back home and he's bringing Lois with him. I guess they never took his shirt off. I was like, weird.
Missed opportunity.
I guess.
Man of Steel delivered. That's all I have to say.
Let's go back to Man of Steel. You're going to see what you wanted.
We could have just said that for the whole review. Did it deliver? No.
Nope. No shirtless Superman? What is this?
Right. We should have just had that clip from Man of Steel when he gets out of the water and he's just
running
like,
up.
all man. That's what we want.
We're gonna have some questions in the comments.
Oh
okay, so let's jump into this. You have this comment, this humor over characterization.
Yes.
Because I feel like this bleeds into what we've just been talking about.
Yeah.
So the characterization, how are they choosing one over the other, or how are they diminishing one over the other? I should guess.
Well, this is part of like what I'm now starting to formulate in my mind as gunnification. And
Gunification,
it's when James Gunn is making a movie, he decides at whim where the priorities have to go, and you just have to roll with that.
Sure.
Whether it makes sense or not. And, you know, on some level, that's what you do with any kind of artist is they're communicating their vision, and, you know, they're going to have certain things that it's like, okay, well, I kind of hand-waved that part because you get the sentiment of what I'm trying to describe.
Okay.
Just like in Man of Steel, you know, where Superman is fighting Zod and he's just like pounding him through buildings and stuff, and people got mad because they're like, why isn't Superman saving people? It's like Zack Snyder's message to the audience was, well, I wanted you to kind of believe in the aspect or like suspend your disbelief of that aspect to be more involved with the fact that these are two like godlike beings in the earth.
Mhm.
And this is the kind of calamity and destruction that you would see if such beings actually existed. So he brought it down in kind of this grounded level and then was like, all right, well, I mean, grounded in a sense, right?
Sure.
And then he just went ham on it. And that's something
Thankfully.
that either works or doesn't work for you. So Gunn does the same thing. And there's this one scene in particular where, you know, early on, like Superman, he's like, he fights these two like big monstrosity things in the city, and he's like knocking around, but he's very careful that they don't destroy anything. Nobody gets hurt. Apparently, he even saves a squirrel. I totally missed that. I must have like blinked or something. But yeah, he like goes so far as to save a squirrel. Okay, so that's the kind of characterization he's established for his interpretation of Superman. Okay, fine. But then there's a scene where he goes and talks to Lois Lane in her apartment. In the background, there's some like weird extra dimensional being like blowing this like weird, alternate dimension space gas everywhere, and there's the team of B superheroes are fighting it.
The Justice Gang.
The Justice Gang, yeah. And she's like, "Aren't you going to do something about that?" And he's like, they'll figure it out. And he kind of brushes it off of like, "Oh, that's just like some entertainment."
I'm going through a crisis right now, and we need to talk about it. It'll work itself out.
Yeah, so it was a funny moment, but at the same time, it's in total contradiction with this interpretation of Superman.
Sure.
It's like this Superman is like, he can't even hurt a fly. So, like, why would he let this thing go? He'd be like, I have to be front and center to make sure that this is put away or this is stopped and nobody gets hurt.
Yeah, to contrast that previous point, when they're fighting the kaiju, the Justice Gang is there too. They're creating all the mayhem, and Superman is preventing all the mayhem.
Right.
So he's more keeping them in check and also fighting the kaiju. Because even when the kaiju like falls over, he like stops it so that it doesn't land on anybody or any buildings or anything.
Right.
So now he's noticing that the Justice Gang is fighting another monster of similar size and decides that it's no longer important. So he has the contrast. He's like, they were the ones causing all this destruction and mayhem. Why wouldn't he go out and be like, well, can't be trusted. They caused a bunch of mess last time, so I better go make sure they don't do it again.
Exactly.
But instead of using that as a humorous point, now it's because all I could see when this is happening was that you literally just have this so that pretty colors are dancing around on the walls while you're having this conversation. That's what it felt like.
Which is like, it's a nice shot, but it's so on the nose.
It is, and it's hard to square.
It was very transparent what he wanted it for.
Yeah, yeah, because it was so devoid of substance.
Right.
That had anything to do with the rest of the film.
So that choice was like, I set it up to be this way because it's in service to James Gunn's vision, not in service to just
the narrative.
With the narrative itself of what it had asked
or the character
for.
of Superman.
Right,
Either
or
one.
the character. Exactly. So that's why I say, like, if you like James Gunn movies, you'll like this because you can just jive with that and it's not a big deal.
Sure.
But like for like us, it's like we're noticing that like that breach of the contract and like the overstep of the artistic vision or whatever. It's like, because the thing is like we still haven't gotten like a Lois Lane sequence. Like again, it's like oh, well, you're hung up on the fact that you don't have the Lois Lane arc. It's like, well, what am I here for? It's a Superman movie.
Sure.
Why am I not getting that? And so it's
that's a quintessential portion.
Right.
It's the contrast. It's
right.
his guiding light, and it's his like. It's
and he could have had that conversation with practically anyone.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So it didn't make her special at all. She didn't earn that place. She was just expected to have it because
she was his
fact
girlfriend.
That she's Lois Lane. It's like, oh, okay. Well,
not even that. Just the fact that she was his girlfriend.
Yeah, but she like they gave her the title of Lois Lane, and therefore she has these responsibilities rather than her earning those responsibilities. And earning her place with Superman and us as the audience.
Yeah.
We were just supposed to expect that, oh, well, she already got there without off screen. We didn't get to see it.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's jump into, well, I guess we'll just jump into the shallow messaging because we're pretty much there already.
Sure.
Did you have specifically political messaging in there or just in general the shallow messaging that they had throughout the film?
Yeah. Well, okay, so I didn't feel like, okay, so what happened was
See, what happened was
the film had these moments, like people have been talking about how there's all this political commentary in the movie.
Kind of.
It's heavily political, but it's not commentary because it's just way too shallow.
Yeah.
So what happens is it does this like very surface level replication of something going on in the real world. In the case of this movie, it's talking heavily about like the Israel and Gaza situation, or you could say Ukraine and Russia, whatever works better for you, because it's so surface level
Right.
that it just kind of could be applied to either one. And on some level, this makes sense. In the mind of James Gunn, he's like, well, Superman's about kindness and these people fighting, and that's wrong.
Right.
So
That's not kind.
that's not
Kind people don't shoot each other.
right. That's not how that
That's
works.
mean.
That's meanness. Yeah. So he had to put that in there to try to like say something about
See,
it.
that sounds stupid, but that's literally how he goes about it.
Yeah, that's just what he gave
It's,
us. Like,
yeah,
I'm
it's
sorry.
like, oh,
it's not,
okay. Sure.
Yeah, so he said 0 about the actual things going on in real life, and I feel like at that point
was
I would
just
rather it
using-
just be masked better because it's just if it is just about kindness, then make it just about kindness, not about Israel and Gaza and kindness.
Well, the
what I
problem
mean?
is that this message probably won't age that well. Like, give it
No.
15 years when this conflict no longer exists. You don't have that context to implement in the film, and without that, it just looks like this thing that doesn't belong. Because he's for some reason interested in this random conflict on the other side of the world, and you don't understand why. You just
Mhm.
know that he doesn't like the killing. And so, well, that happens everywhere in the world. Like, why does this one matter? It's like, well, it does. And it's like,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, because I mean, he'd be so busy trying to right all the wrongs in the world if that
Right.
was the case.
Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense except within this context. And so when you're trying to implement this context, you get to see it blatantly, especially at the end of the film. And it's like, I still don't understand why this is a quintessential. I understand that's his message, but I feel like there's other ways you could have done this that would have been a lot more relevant to the character of Superman and his immediate surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that the world can't be included, but if you're going to include one, why not include all the others? You're just expecting me to believe that it's just these two conflicts that are happening in the world at any given time?
Well, that's the most pertinent one, I suppose, happening on
I
his
guess.
radar.
But again, it's only given the context of the real world.
Yeah.
So when that no longer exists, people are going to watch this in the future and be like, oh, okay, I don't get how this squares.
I
But
actually
okay.
do have a defense for him here.
Okay.
One of the rare
Lay it on
moments
me.
in which I will have one. So, Superman as a character, I mean, he's super old, right? And
Okay.
he's so old such that if there was, like, if you were to make an argument about a true American mythos, your two options are the Cthulhu mythos by H.P. Lovecraft
Okay.
and all the other authors, and Superman. Those are your two, I would say, biggest contenders to make, like, yeah, they've been around long enough and they've had enough literature written about them, and
Okay.
there's been enough academic dialogue concerning them to at least pitch that argument forward. So given that context, Superman transforms a lot throughout history.
Yeah.
And so there's like at one point, he said like truth, justice, and the American way. But
Yeah.
then like the American way part is sometimes like inserted or not inserted based on how people feel about America at the present time, right?
Sure.
So the fact that Superman is in some sense a reflection of like contemporary culture, and this being another example of contemporary culture of what we're aware of at the time, I can see that being at least a justification to include it in the film. The difference is that Superman was the super shallow character originally, and the events themselves were very nuanced. And so now the roles have reversed. And it's like our focus is making on Superman more interesting, and we'll just surface level the actual scenario that's taking place in Gunn's vision is what I mean.
Right.
And Gunn doesn't make Superman necessarily a super deep character in this movie, but there's at least an arc happening there that you can follow through from beginning to end, right? And I'm also including like Snyder in some sense, who was like, yeah, Man of Steel. It's about Superman as a person and as a man and as someone who's like an orphan, and these kinds of themes play a part into it. Like that's the whole reason why I love Man of Steel so much, is that he humanized a character who before I was like, he's just so flat. You just project whatever you want into him. He's just a power fantasy person.
Yeah.
And so, Gunn taking that other step to be like, well, let's put him more back into that power fantasy and let's start talking about social issues anymore. I don't mind it based on the fact that Superman has always kind of done that. What I mind is just the fact that there was so little to say about them.
Yes.
That it, because like nothing changes the fact that it's just such a shallow representation that, like, the only reason we're comparing it with, Russia and Ukraine or whatever, is simply the fact that it is on our radar. But a lot of people these days, like when you look up like critic reviews, sometimes critics are really starting to bother me. By the way, they will comment like, "Oh yeah, it's like a representation of it." Meaning what? Who cares? Like, you're the one projecting that because
Sure.
you're following the news. If you weren't following the news, you'd be like, "What is this?" Just like you
Yeah.
said, in the future, or if you're not paying attention, then it means nothing to you.
Right. If you understood the context of the time in which it was created, and then potentially even going into some of Gunn's comments himself, I'm sure he's mentioned something about this at some level.
Probably.
Then you might understand that, sure. But then you have to understand the context of what Gunn believes about the conflict, or what certain people believe about the conflict, or what the conflict actually represents. I mean, a lot of people don't understand the full context. They just kind of are believing what they're fed. And so you're going to have an opinion one way or the other, and then you're going to have to insert that into the film as well. And it's like,
Right.
okay, I want to know how this, cuz then there's other implications, I suppose, cuz at the end there's the kid who raises the flag with Superman on it, and then Superman never shows up. He sends another group to take care of that conflict while he stays home.
Yeah.
And so I was like, was that also commentary of like America staying out of these conflicts around the world and allowing them to be handled by other forces? Like what
Don't do that.
what
He
are you
doesn't.
throwing there?
James Gunn doesn't care enough. Don't do that.
Sure. But I don't think he cared enough to like give this, like you said, they're all so shallow anyway
Right.
that you can kind of just read whatever you want into it. It's just like, okay, I guess so. But the thing that Man of Steel did so successfully was that it like you said, it humanized it, but it
Mhm.
also gave those moral implications of what this could mean, right? If this superpower was unleashed, or if it had to contend with another superpower, how destructive that could be.
Mhm.
And it just kept it to that, and it was supposed to represent that on some level. Like, oh, okay, cool. Same thing with something like Captain America.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting. What they did was like, well, let's just bring him back to his roots. He's gonna go punch a bunch of Nazis, because then everybody
Yeah.
understands that, and that's timeless. Like
Yeah.
everybody's going to agree forever that like that's something that
Right.
should be done. Okay, cool. Let's just put him in that timeline. He's gonna fight the Nazis. It's like, all right, cool, because it's so blatantly obvious,
Right.
and everybody understands all of the history with that. With some of this stuff, it's like you can't. So he didn't slap it on. He just kind of alluded to those things, but also like everyone's kind of muddled on which side they want to side with, or they don't understand the conflict at all,
Right.
and they believe what people that they trust have said,
Yeah.
and so it's not as easily applicable to this scenario to where it can build a character like Superman within the American context. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, if you want, to learn more about it, like, I would recommend starting with the film Munich by Steven Spielberg, which we
Sure.
reviewed, because that movie was kind of unearthing some of the like raw consequences that can affect an individual based on this conflict.
Sure.
And so that's like something you can kind of take away from it and be like, oof, there's like, okay, I feel that. Whereas this was just like, yeah, they were bad guys.
Yeah, probably.
I actually like you bringing Captain America into this, because this is something that I didn't give Marvel quite enough credit for before, but I'll do it now. And that's that first Captain America. You're right. It just sets him back in his time and has him fight the Nazis and establishes Captain America as who he is as a person and as like an archetype or a character. And that earned a lot, I think, a lot more than I perhaps initially realized. Because you always know in every sequential Marvel movie that that's where Steve Rogers is coming from that old era, and just this, like, chivalry and stuff like that. And when they did Winter Soldier, they actually did it in a unique way, where in that movie he starts to kind of question his loyalty to the US, because if the government gets corrupted, where does that leave him?
Right.
And that was interesting how it was like before it was cut and dry in his past, and now it's not. And so that was a way of looking at, yeah, with the Nazis, pretty cut and dry as we understand it now.
Sure.
And very much Captain America and Superman were both like, yeah, screw the Nazis. That's what their message was. It wasn't very complicated in the 40s.
Right.
But you go to, present day, and there's a lot more commentary about corrupt governments, right? And so the fact that Captain America played into that theme, and I think very effectively, was, I think, one of those real strong suits of that movie in particular. Like, I always liked Winter Soldier because it felt like it was just so much smarter at dealing with that. But
It
now
was
kind of
thoughtful, yeah, bringing those up.
but now seeing it as the larger context of how it kind of plays into those themes, like you could write a really good essay on that. I
Maybe
don't
we
think you
will.
could do that with Superman 25.
Not this one, no. Unfortunately, yeah, it's not as thoughtful.
Yeah.
It doesn't have Superman having anything to say about it.
Mhm.
I mean, he has that preachy message at the end when he's talking to Lex, but
Mhm.
even that, it comes across as preachy and not well thought out. It was just kind of like
It didn't make any sense either. I was like,
that too.
"What?"
Yeah, because I liked the dichotomy that it was trying to bring up. I just don't think that it played out well. So there's my compliment, I guess, of the movie.
Mm.
Because you come to this idea of he's been sent by his parents and he doesn't understand what they wanted from him altogether.
Mhm.
And then Lex apparently cracks the code and they hear the entire message and it seems like it's malicious. And so he's like, well, now I'm questioning my identity. And it's like, why? Why are you didn't know what they had to say until just now. Like you learned with the entire world. So why all of a sudden you questioning? You're like, well, my parents wanted me to be evil, so I guess I am. It's like, what? The thing was that he had a contrast of these, these good people that lived in Kansas, and like I
Mhm.
liked their portrayal. I actually liked the parents' casting as well.
Mhm.
Um, but he has this conversation with his adopted father, and they talk about that, and he's like, look, they may have had some weird, aspirations for you to come down to Earth, but you're not like that.
Right.
We raised you to be this,
Mhm.
and it looks like you're following through with that. And so you're obviously not following through with the evil intentions. You've come through with these good ideals and these good
Mhm.
morals, and like you're playing through those. And I was like, well, yeah, why didn't you think of this? You're an adult, man. Like you should have
Yeah.
processed all this already. Like this is where I had a problem with how simplistic they made the character of Superman. Is that he has no critical thought at all. Someone tells him something, he's just like, that must be true. It's like, dude, you didn't filter through that at all? Like that's what I liked about Man of
Okay.
Steel is that when that guy was chasing him around, he's like, look, I understand why you're doing this. I'm a superpower that I could destroy the Earth. I
Right.
get it. But he's like, I was raised in Kansas. I'm as American as it gets. Like I got two parents. I've been here my entire life. If I had some disease or something that's alien, like I would have given it already, and it hasn't happened. So there's nothing for you to be afraid about.
Right.
But I'm happy to be held accountable on some level.
Mhm.
Just not where it gets personal and I have to worry about my family.
Right. It shouldn't come back to haunt them.
This one, Lex is like, "Oh, I hate you," and it's like, "Well, you shouldn't." I guess it's just like, well,
Okay. That's That's a hilarious interpretation. So I was a little bit more forgiving at this part,
okay,
I will say, because when he heard it from his parents,
uh-huh.
that was an excuse where I was with him on that. I was like, "Oh, this poor thing."
It would
Because
suck to hear, but I wouldn't be trusting anybody.
yeah.
I'm it's like the guy that's been trying the entire film to kill me. I'm just gonna be like, well, he had his experts look, so I guess I'm gonna trust it.
Yes, that is what I had a
I don't
problem
care
with.
who tells me that he's trustworthy. I'm like, screw
Right.
you. I'm not gonna believe my parents said that.
Yeah, like, and the movie itself was the way it handled that was so like it's we validated
Yep,
it.
it's
It's true.
true.
It's true.
It's true.
It's true.
Absolutely
It's
true.
true. And they
Believe,
just
trust me, bro. Like,
yeah, they just kept saying that, and
yeah.
I was like,
How about
is
no?
it though? All the way up until the movie ended, I was like, is it though?
Yeah.
I'm still wondering because the way you handled that was just so forced and so fast. I was like, I
Yeah,
don't
it
know
was
if this is what they
immediate.
thought.
It released, and then one guy's like, "No, man, those guys, they don't lie." I'm like,
Yeah, I was like,
they're being paid by a billionaire. Like, you don't think that he might have slipped him a couple of bucks? Are you
yeah.
serious? Okay.
It's like this
Who
would have been
knows
so easy.
Kryptonian? Who out here understands?
Right.
Like, get out of here. Get out. No, I'm sorry.
So that was lame. But aside from that, Superman taking the message and just being like hurt that his parents had this vision for him to be so counter to who he is or who he's become is like emotionally that works very well, right?
Yeah,
And
I
it's
get.
like
Yeah,
him being just really hard on himself for no reason because he is a good person. But it's compounded with the fact that people are getting upset with him and then he's like starting to kind of cripple a little bit under the pressure. He's trying to do a good thing all the time
sure.
and nobody will let him or believe him when he does that good thing. Like cuz this is the thing when he attacks or when they fight the kaiju monster or whatever, the way that resolves, like Superman's vision to how to resolve that doesn't come about.
Mm.
It's the Justice Gang, they get their idea, which is just slaughter the thing, and
Yeah.
who cares about the damages later. And so it's like he fails to accomplish that goal, and then he gets hit with like, well, your goals aren't working at all. Or it's like you shouldn't even be trying to do this good thing. So then it's demoralizing, right? And he's like, oh, like I was trying to do a good thing and like it didn't matter. So that kind of works in and of itself in isolation. It would work better if the monster wasn't so goofy, and it would work a lot better if the next time a monster shows up, he doesn't just flat out ignore it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's kind of a
Yeah, it's too all over the place. There's no consistency to this
yeah,
narrative and what he's trying to build with this character.
right,
It cared about what it cared about in the moment. It didn't care about what it was trying
right,
to work towards.
yeah.
And so yeah, you're just kind of left like, I don't get what you're trying to do, man. So I was just like, I guess I'll just go with this moment. What are we getting here? Because it's gonna be different in 5 minutes.
Did you feel like this movie was well paced?
No.
Okay. I felt like it was decently well placed, to be honest with you. What do you mean? Why don't you feel that way? Because what I've heard is a lot of people are like, "Whoa, it's a mess," and it's just all over the place and so much stuff. But I felt like it was those things, but it was a mess because it was the second movie, not because. And so it was like the script's ideas of what scenes we should get
Hmm.
was that to me is what I thought was off, not like in the actual flow and speed of the movie.
Maybe that's a better answer then.
Okay.
I don't know. I felt like I was trying so hard to grasp at what he was trying to do. Because,
Not
like I
much.
said, it didn't feel like any kind of line at all. Like I wasn't able to grasp anything. And
That's intentional.
sure, if that's the case, and I disagree with the method, but it just like I would agree with them is that it kept bouncing because it was too much. He was trying to. He's like, well, check it out. We got Justice Gang in here, and check it out. We got Lois Lane, and check it out. We've got Jimmy's character and his relationship with this random blonde chick, and check it out. We've got this fourth dimension thing. Or this hidden dimension thing, and check it out. We got like Lex has all these people in prison for no reason, but also like
Yeah.
there's this one. So it was too many things that I was like, what direction are we going?
Yeah.
I want let's just stick with Superman. Why can't we do that?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing where I actually will compare it to the Matt Reeves Batman is that he's very intentional about like this is what I'm trying to accomplish, and this is where I'm going to go with it. It's going to be relegated strictly to Batman. And I might introduce an extra villain, but even the villain there, and this is Penguin I'm referencing, Penguin doesn't have a whole lot to do with the narrative. He just is there.
Yeah.
And he like gives some information, but he's not really involved in a way that's antagonistic towards Batman. And so when you're having this, when Batman's trying to go after the Riddler, it's such a straight line of like how he's going about it and how that's a problem. And he even does it blatantly. He's like, I'm vengeance. This is the theme of the film. By the end of the film, he realizes how destructive that is, and so that needs to change because it's inspiring all these people in a way that's very negative. And so I'm assuming that in the second film, he'll probably have a secondary word or another phrase or something that he's using to encapsulate the identity of Batman because everybody recognizes him as vengeance. And so if he tries to change that, which he's doing at the end by saving these people and leading them to the helicopters and providing aid rather than just beating the crap out of everybody, then that's going to recontextualize his character. So with Superman, I thought they were going to try and do something similar, where it's like something simplistic to kind of carve out a specific characteristic of Superman. And it didn't seem like it was doing that. It's just, well, he's really good, and he's very innocent, and he's very like straightforward black and white. Like, sure. But even films like Captain America did that better. Because he did have that kind of like overly simplistic, innocent look, to life. But when he came face to face with what evil could be, the depravity of these things, then he had to step up and do something about that, even if it questioned his morals. And so like I was like, well, movies have already done this thing. I don't understand why this has to be so muddled and not have a clear through line that I can follow. So, I mean, some people may disagree, and I'd actually be interested to hear what you disagree about in that factor, I suppose. But like I said, it was trying to do too many other things as opposed to just focusing on this one thing. And then, like you said, they jumped into the second movie first.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, you eliminated all the things that would interest me about a Superman film, namely Superman.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, it spends so much time with the Justice League character or the Justice Gang characters, and they sucked. I mean, Mr. Fantastic or
Terrific,
Mr.
whatever.
Terrific or whatever. He was pretty good. And I
He was
guess
just interesting as a character.
well, yeah, I mean the actor performance like
Yeah,
really carried that, and he was a kind of no nonsense superhero. So I mean he was cool, but it was also like I just didn't come here for this character. So shoehorning him in is just felt like an indulgence,
yeah,
and it's not one that I was willing to really give the movie that much
sure,
because I mean, think of it this way, like Superman has one moment which he really shows off what he is and what he can do. Like it's this part where Lex sends these like robot people after him and Superman's and they're like, "Oh, like, like they're like tackle him or shoot him or something or catch him." And then Superman says, "Good luck with that." And then he like flies off and he just lays waste to these guys, just
sure.
decimates them. And you're like, "Whoa." And when that happened, I was like, that's what I want to see.
Right.
That is Superman showing what he is actually capable of. So there was one moment of that. And the rest, he's just failing, getting beaten up, being naive.
And I don't
Too
even
much so.
right. I don't mind the failing thing either. But they did that at the beginning of the film. And that
Yeah.
I didn't like either. I was like, "Well, why didn't you show me the fight?" It just had this stupid, word stuff come up. This overlay was like, "Superman's been part of this community for X amount of time and he's never lost a fight until today." And then he comes crashing in and Crypto has to drag him to the Fortress of Solitude to get
Hmm.
recharged and jump back into the fight. And I'm like, "Why do I care? You're asking me to kill like yeah, and that's again part of the second movie thing where it's like I'm supposed to have seen him never lose a fight up to this point. But now I'm supposed to just contextualize that into an emotion and see him fail by crashing to the earth, bleeding and broken, be dragged back, and then be like, all right, I'm ready to come back into the fight. It's like, all right. I don't have any stake in the matter. I'm like, well, I would just rather see the fight because I'm here for a Superman movie. So
Yeah, at least you get to see a Superman fight, and then he can fall, and then you can
right,
start, and then well, you could hear more from the villain, what his stakes are and objectives,
sure.
that kind of thing. Yeah,
It was a weird way to start a Superman movie. I was like,
it was
oh
a weird
man,
way to start any kind of movie.
yeah.
What'd you think of Crypto since you brought him up, the dog, Super Dog?
Yeah, so I think on this topic, we're gonna jump over to the villain he's fighting in the beginning, um,
Okay.
and some of the moral implications there because it ends really great. So
Oh,
obviously
okay,
you're
okay.
aware of all the spoilers here. So apparently, at some point, Lex clones Superman and creates this being that he like implements all these fight techniques into. So however he's done
Mhm.
that, who knows? Doesn't explain. I don't care. But he knows back to front every move that Superman uses and how to counteract that. So he like indoctrinates this clone. So it's almost like it almost has the implications that it could be something like the Winter Soldier, which is what I was like, this would have been interesting if you had done something like that, but they did not. He's just completely mindless. He's controlled by Lex, but they give him a face.
Mhm.
And my friend that was with me, like, when he finally gets the mask ripped off, he was like, "Oh, it's like killing yourself, like dying to self or whatever. You're facing yourself and you're getting rid of the parts you don't like." I was like, "Okay, sure. I guess he is on the nose enough to have done that." But the thing about it is, he explains to Superman what this character is. He's like, "Yeah, I cloned you, and I made this thing." He's like, "He's dumber, if that's even possible, but he's probably stronger." And I was like, "Okay, so what you're telling me is that you're looking at a clone of you that may or may not have a soul, may or may not have some kind of conscience, right? Like it might be aware. He's clearly he's like got all the functionality of a human being or of a Kryptonian, I guess. He's looking him at in the eye, and I was like, all right, wouldn't this not bring up some questions? Superman has been shown to want to save the kaiju that seems like a mindless creature that's just bent on destruction. So why would he not want to save an image of himself? Like in my mind, I'd be like, if I were to look at that in his shoes, I'd be like, okay, my DNA has been used to create a being that I do not understand.
Mm.
This, on some level, is my responsibility, if
Yeah.
not my fault.
Mhm.
It is now my responsibility to figure out all the questions that I might have. Does this have a soul? Does this have a conscience? Is this a human being? Well, what does that constitute?
Yeah, yeah.
Now I have all these philosophical questions that I've got, but no, it's straight up. he holds him out.
Pitches
the
him
guy
out into a black hole.
launches into a black hole. I'm like,
That's it,
are
get
you
outta here.
kidding me? You set up this character to be so good that he doesn't want even a squirrel to be harmed. But when he's looking at himself in a mirror, he's like, screw that guy. He's out. There can only be one, and it's me. It's like, whoa, man.
Where'd that come from?
Yeah, what? He's created by your arch nemesis. You don't have any questions? But nope, I'm out. I was like, okay, you're gonna put him in a prison in the Fortress of Solitude or whatever. It was way too much for me to square in that one moment that he had to decide. It looked like a Luke Skywalker moment when he goes in and faces Vader, cuts his head off, and he's faced with himself.
Right.
Felt like that could have been something that could have happened.
Yeah, but see, in that it was a dream,
right?
So, or it's unclear how much it's a vision. Yeah, and it's not really real. And then also he thought he was killing Vader,
right?
So he didn't realize that. Yeah, and then when the mask it reveals that it's him, then it's like he's shocked and confused. So he didn't realize like, oh, I'm stabbing myself.
Sure.
It wasn't like in The Last Jedi where Rey's like, oh, it's like mirrored reflections of me.
Me, and I'm perfect, so I don't change ever. But with this one, you know, if that had happened, it would have wouldn't that give you pause if you're looking at yourself after a mask was ripped off in this fight?
I mean, maybe, I guess, but I don't feel like clones have a soul. Sorry if you're out there and you're a clone.
Sure. Okay. Sure.
Maybe but that's like, see, I realize now that you're bringing it up that that's me projecting my opinion about clones from what little I know of them. Whereas with Superman, as he's been depicted in the movie, like you said, if he saves a squirrel, it's really odd that he would not be interested in saving a clone whatsoever. So there is a real contradiction there. But again, it's like we've kind of illuminated that contradiction on multiple fronts now. So I hope it is becoming clear that it's just like well, it worked better for the movie in this moment, so that's what we're doing.
Yeah, it was funny. Haha, see, he got sucked into a black hole. It's like,
right.
Not really.
I mean, it's the same thing like when they do, bring Superman down and he's like put in Lex's prison and it's supposed to be his low moment, that gets shoved to the wayside so we can have the low moment of his cellmate, who's this guy who's made out of minerals or whatever. I want to say he was Animal, Vegetable, Mineral Man, but they never called him that. So I think the jury's still out. But anyways,
he does have a name. I just can't remember what it is.
Yeah, it's like they did call him something. I don't think they called him that, but maybe they were just too scared to call him that, which would make sense. But then again, this is the guy who had like a polka dot man and brought him back. So I'm like, oh, okay, so maybe he would go there. But so this character he's got Superman in his cage, and he's just like formed his hand to be some kryptonite to like torture him. And then across from him, they have his baby, presumably. You never find out if it's his, but in like a cell, and the baby's crying.
He says it's his son.
Oh, he says that?
Yeah.
Okay, but that's my point. We have to just take his word for it.
Sure.
So it's like the story is about him, not about Superman processing what he's going through, which is what it should be about. And then when it is about this other character, you don't even get the full picture of that. We just have to take his word for it. But this is like some random character we've met. It's like we don't even know why he's Animal, Vegetable, Mineral Man. Like we don't know how he became this at all. And so you see like how it's just layers upon layers of questions of like, so this character has no introduction, and then we just have to believe him, and then it's all in sacrifice of the character we actually are here to see. Why? Why is this happening whatsoever? That was super irritating to me. And then it all shifts when Superman is just he's like, oh, I didn't realize Lex was so bad until he murdered that guy in front of us. Yeah. Like I thought he was kind of reasonable. He has your baby in a cage across from you. This is not a reasonable man. And you have Superman with you.
That was funny because they also, on that point, they show that he has much more of an like, obviously Superman's torn up about it. But Lex comes in and straight cold-blooded murdered someone.
Yeah.
And that's what shifts him.
Shifts him.
It's not about Superman's reaction.
Right.
That's now about this guy's reaction. It's like, don't you think your son being held where you can see and he's gonna get killed if you don't do your job? Like that's enough to maybe spur you to be like, you know what? Screw this guy. He's bad. I think he might be bad. Like it's some rando that you don't know that gets shot in front of you that makes you shift.
Yeah.
That is a good point.
Yeah,
because again, it's not about Superman's reaction, even though he has a reaction. He's upset about it.
Right.
It's about what this guy does and how that affects the narrative instead.
Right. And so then when they finally comes to his senses and, generates a son so Superman can get his powers back, and then they're trying to escape. Superman's got to save his son the whole time, and he's just like holding him up as he's drowning in some weird like Minecraft river
It did
of
not look like
pixels.
Minecraft, okay?
Sure.
It straight up looked like Minecraft. That's immediately what I said when I was like, seriously?
Yeah, some weird like pixelated cube
Yeah.
of river cube pixel whatever crap. And then that whole time it's like we're saving Joey, saving the baby, and then we're following this mineral man as he like transforms into different things, and oh my gosh. Then finally this sequence finally ends, and then you're like, all right, can we get back to like having Superman stuff now? And so it wasn't the worst movie I ever saw, but it was just kind of like, if I stop and like kind of work with it, I'm like, I feel like I'm working in every scene. I'm trying to get the part that I thought should be obviously important for everybody in the theater, and you're more interested in this like stupid mineral person. I'm like, why? What is with rock people in movies? That's another issue I have. It happened in that other the Thor movies, the rock man person. They just keep dragging him out,
That was
and
just
then it's like
Tycho
he's got
putting
a
himself in his movies.
and then he's got like a boyfriend and stuff. I'm just like, what is this? Like, why are we still with the rock people?
What are your weird tangents?
I don't know what to do with them. They're just like obsessed with rock people. I'm like,
Okay.
I mean, that's mostly just a joke. But
True.
yeah, anyways.
Okay, so those were my points. Did you have anything else further that you'd like to expound upon?
Yeah, I got one other thing.
Okay.
So, and this is actually, believe it or not, my harshest criticism of this movie.
That's hilarious. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, this part pissed me off. This part genuinely upset me. I was like, oh, I can't believe you did that. So I don't think I've ever said this on the show or ever where I'm like, oh, they ruined something, because I just don't really believe that. It's like a
There's
general.
always another chance. Yeah.
There's always another chance. You always have the originals, etc., whatever. But they just ruined Supergirl. They just straight up ruined her. They have her come in at the last minute, and then she's like drunk because she was partying on some other
on a
planet.
red sun planet.
This is BS. This Supergirl is one of my favorite characters in Superman, and they just completely ruined her. I was like, she's not like that, okay? She's not this like whiny teenager person. She's just youth. She's young.
She does have some of the whiny teenager thing, but this is a party girl. This is like a college sorority girl thing that they had going on. And you're just supposed to accept all this in like the span of a minute.
Yeah.
There's like, okay, she's gone. I'm like, Supergirl's here? Wait.
Yeah.
Where was she the whole time?
And why is she wearing her cool Supergirl outfit if she doesn't care to be Supergirl? I'm like, that makes no sense. What was she just out there showing off? And like it just called the entire movie into question, because I'm like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me your cousin was fighting for his life? I mean, he was nearly killed, and you were just off partying that the whole time?
Yeah.
And it's like, ha ha ha, that's supposed to be funny. Not funny. Not cool, man. Like, the Kents have responsibility, okay?
Raised you better than this.
And it just, yeah, I was like, what a bad message, too, because it's a whole movie. I was like, this is like a PG movie. It's great for kids and everything, because it's like, he's just good-hearted Superman. It doesn't need to get lost in the weeds with all the nuance or whatever. Like, it's a much better film to show, like, your kids than, like, Man of Steel, which is, like, heavy and weighty.
Yeah.
And, it's subdued color palette and all this other stuff. But then they threw in Supergirl at the end. I was like, what kind of message is this? She's just getting drunk and stuff? Screw that. So, like, I'm assuming his intention is that so that way she can have a character arc in his third movie, his third Superman movie. Because, again, it's a second script.
It does,
everything about it. So
Yeah.
it's like you missed the first movie. And so, and then a weird coincidence, you're like, I actually kind of want to watch the first movie, so now it makes more sense to me. But you can't do that. And then now he wants you to see a third movie just so he can fix a character that he ruined for no reason.
Sounds like a gun problem. Oh, wait.
That's my rant. Sorry.
Well, I think we've railed on this.
Did you have anything else that you needed to discuss, or
No,
we covered it all?
I think we did. Yeah, I felt genuinely completely apathetic the entire movie, which is unusual. Usually I'm passionately interested or passionately hating something. And that's when I was like, I'm really bored.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I want anything to happen. That's why I was like so invested in seeing this chick's toes, because I was like, why does he call her mutant toes? What is so wrong with them? I want to know. They got to be.
You didn't get that.
They got to be real weird, right? Like,
Yeah.
But oh, you didn't even get that.
Nope. Not for
Dude,
you. Not
Don't
for you.
introduce a question if you're not going to answer it.
I know you're pulling a page out of Abrams' book.
It's ridiculous. It's like mystery box crap here.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, I don't know. It was a weak, shallow Superman movie. Fun if you just want some fun. Because, I mean, it's so shallow, you can just roll with it, I guess.
It's just a background film. Just
yeah,
put it on,
background
don't
film.
pay
It's a
attention
great
to
way
it.
to
You're
put
not gonna miss anything. You're not gonna be lost whenever you jump back in. Like I said, it's a moment to moment thing. So yeah, bring back Snyder.
That's what I say. I liked Man of Steel.
Bring
Sorry.
back.
Zack Snyder makes a Supergirl movie.
I'd be down with that. We can bring back the one from Flash. It was the only interesting arc in that film anyway.
Yeah, that was an interesting take. She was like this tortured soul.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, kind of a dark edge.
way
Snyder
better.
could do that.
He could.
Mhm.
I mean, that's all he does. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That's all it does. Yeah.
I think we'll end it there.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Sorry the movie sucks. So you made it to the end of the video. If you liked it, please consider subscribing and leave us a comment. We'd love to hear what you thought.